Response from Earl yet, but
This meeting is being recorded.
Got it. Or there's somebody.
Okay, now
Nice
nobody
figure.
speak.
Yeah. So now our Zoom is being recorded so that those who aren't here can still feel a part and see what all of our faces are like. Perhaps we can go in order and introduce ourselves and where we're calling from, and who we are, like what we do. And then for those of you who are on the tour, so Jane and Jim and Joyce and Bill, if you could tell us what your connection is, because I know there's some big ones. So I'm going to start. I'm Sam. I'm the outbound operations manager for the Battlefield Tours. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm calling from Saskatoon. Glenn, do you want to go next?
sure. I'm Glenn. I work for Sam. I'm the lead tour manager for the Battlefield Tours Canada. I've been working with her and her father since 2009. So every major tour that's come up and the ones in between, I've taken part in and guided. Last year was my first opportunity to work with David last August on the Dieppe tour. We can talk about that a little bit more afterwards. But I'm here located in a little community called Qualicum Beach on Vancouver Island. And I'm much looking forward to getting together in about a month's time or so and meeting you all and starting our journey together.
Woohoo, Glenn, good one. Dave, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Father David O'Keefe. I'm the local priest. Yeah, sorry guys. I do have to apologize. I'm a little punch drunk because I've barely slept in 30 something hours. We were filming this week and I took the red eye. I was in Jacksonville. What day are we? We're Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Just checking. I took one flight out. We were filming in Jacksonville all week, and then I flew out to Seattle and took the red eye home. So I barely slept in the last 30 hours. So I thought this was at 6 o'clock Eastern. So I literally rolled out of bed like 5 minutes before when I got this emergency thing from Sam. I'm the historian on this tour, and you're basically going to be hearing my voice quite a bit in this one. And along with Glenn, we are going to be weaving quite the narrative as we go all the way from Normandy right up to Holland. And then we will have one incredible explosive last evening in an Amsterdam hotel. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That's it.
Explosive. Great stuff. Where are you calling from, Dave?
Oh yeah, I'm at home now in my downstairs bunker, and I'm in Rigaud, Quebec, which is about I'd say about 40 minutes outside west of Montreal. I'm about 10 minutes from the Ontario border on the road to Ottawa. So there you go. So as you can see, it's apparently sunny somewhere.
Beautiful.
Somewhere upstairs.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jane, do you want to go next?
Sure. My husband's with me as well. This is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
And we're on one
Right.
screen because we didn't want to have a problem if we were both on the same thing at the same time. We're on an island, Jessup's Island on Lake Nipissing, which is absolute paradise. It's the gateway to the north. And he doesn't like it as much as I do, but he has to come.
It's her paradise and I have to maintain it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think the provincial bird up there is a mosquito. Is that right?
you should see my hands and my arms right now. Like, it's incredible. And when we arrived here earlier this week, we wished we had our ski jackets. It went down to 0 at night. And this is
Yeah.
a summer cottage. It's crazy. The weather is absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. And we're flooded. Our boathouse floorboards are underwater. Because all the flooding, the Ottawa rivers, if they open
Yeah.
things into like Nipissing, they close the gates going to the French River, so it won't flood Georgian Bay. And our lake's not supposed to be used like this, but it's a reservoir for what's happening elsewhere. So it could be like not a drop in the bay, or it could be 6 feet higher than it's supposed to be. Actually, it's not usually that bad, but right now it's pretty trying. Anyway,
Wow.
I still want to be here.
You're still on tour.
But you're not the one responsible for the upkeep of paradise, right?
No, I'm the
The one
supervisor.
sitting there. Yeah.
I'm the
Right.
manager.
Look in the back.
It's the staff, right, that looks after that?
Well, and this was a big connection with my dad too, because my dad started out in medicine in Parry Sound as I guess they called it a general doctor. And he was rough, like he used to ride box cars to get to reserves to deliver babies. There weren't that many doctors. In fact, at the end of World War II, I saw this exit thing with him, and the doctors in Parry Sound were begging them to let him come home earlier, like 2 months earlier, because they only had 5 doctors in the entire district of Parry Sound. And of course they didn't. And then he stayed there for 10 years after the war before he found out, really, I can't make a living here. So he went to Montreal. But my dad always had a love for the North. And anyway, so I have the same thing. I grew up with him. My connection is that my dad wasn't in the Black Watch. He was in the Royal Army Medical Corps, Canadian Medical Corps. And I know some things that I heard growing up, and we had a picture in our basement of the officers before they left England. And I can remember a few things he told me. I verified with David the story about Padre Burles. My dad was the one that stopped the bleeding in his jugular. But it was just, my dad never talked to me about the war. It was coincidental. He was talking about coincidence. He was talking about how he ran into him at a church in Montreal where there was a christening, and he saw under his collar that there was a huge wound. So we introduced each other. So anyway, I'm kind of frustrated because I realized that, like, I know when at D-Day, after D-Day when they landed, he was at the Essex Scottish, and then right away he was seconded to the Black Watch, and I know he was at Very Ridge. I remember a few comments he said about that, and I thought he was maybe there afterwards. I can't tell from the records very well because he was in the Army Corps. They show what field station they're with instead of which regiment they're attending to.
Medical Corps. You
At
said Army Corps.
Army Medical Corps.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to do a lot more research, but I'm still really thrilled to be on this because I know, like, I really want to trace the steps. And I also want to see Holland. I know my dad said the most important thing he did in his life was to help liberate Holland, over all of his accomplishments. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to learn a lot.
Just to be clear, Jane's dad was the medical officer for the Black Watch during the 7 days in hell that I wrote about. So he was with them through that time where they took their most intensive casualties, including the 25th, where they lost 94% going up Very Ridge.
Yeah.
And her father was there in Saint Martin, sort of part of the Alamo last stand. And he turned in I hate to use the term performance because it sounds like it's some sort of work of art, but I'm sure it was, patching. I can't think of one medical officer who would have that kind of overwhelming volume of patients coming in at a time. I mean,
And that was my dad's character.
Yeah,
that was my dad's character. Like he was always very calm, collected. He always he did a lot of research in Montreal, but he ended up working in an emergency room and as an anesthesiologist. He never wanted to do anything else. He wanted to be dealing with the people who were really injured. And nurses told me long afterwards that they always breathed a sigh of relief when he was on call because he could handle anything. He was just born to do that.
Yeah. Now you've never been over, right? You've never seen the battlefield. You never walked.
No, this is very special to us. Very special. And I have to
great
tell you,
have.
I'm reading your book about Dieppe right now. Oh, it is a fantastic book. I want to read that before we go. It's just a fantastic book. I can't believe the research that went into that.
Oh, thank you. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to read it yet, 7 Days in Hell, you really probably should read it before you go. You can read it in the plane. It's an easy read. Don't worry.
It is. It's an easy read. I mean, yeah, it's a great book to read. But I would also say, like, it's great to read. There you go, Bill. Bill's got it.
There you go.
But
There you go.
it's good to read before and after because I feel like you get a different sense when you get to see it in real life,
Yeah.
Jane, did your father talk much about the war?
Well, he talked to one of my cousins that I didn't know about. He'd been in the reserves and he was a police officer in Ontario. And apparently when he was young, like his late teens and early 20s, my dad talked to him and he had some interesting stories to tell. Maybe I could tell you when we're over there, but some of it was really comical and some of it was, he didn't share with me the the blood and guts kind of stuff, but he did tell me, I didn't know this. I saw that my dad was wounded. I thought it was in Cannes. He said it was in Fillet. And he had shrapnel in his arm and apparently some head, but I didn't see that in the records. They said it was a minor injury. But he also told me stories about how the Polish actually shot their own soldiers. They went into a church and caught some choir gowns, were wearing them, running around. And the Canadians said, it's not our guys. And the Polish said, it's not our guys. And they were actually Polish soldiers and they killed them. So I don't know. David is the one who has to verify that.
That's
But
tragic.
my dad told me the coincidental things. And he did say once that the majority of the men in that picture he was in were out of commission. They either died or were wounded.
They are, yeah. I'm searching to put it up right now. I've got a lot of stuff on my screen. I'll eventually get it up. The Poles that you're referring to may have been Poles that were serving in the German army, because
Oh,
when
okay.
you
Well, then they
when they
hit the
came
right
into
people then.
Normandy, yeah, well, when they came into Normandy, I won't say a lot of the German army, but probably about 20% of the German army was made up of foreigners that were impressed into service.
I was going to say
So
that.
you
there
were finding
probably
Russians and
lots of-
Czechs and Poles and
Yeah.
Romanians and anybody and everybody. So it could
Well, the
very
one
well
thing,
be. Yeah.
the one thing that I'm so fascinated about is that it was horrible for everybody. It was horrible for German soldiers too. I mean, when I was growing up, they were all, I was born 11 years after the war, and a lot of my parents' friends were veterans and so on. And we tended to see it just from the Allies side, but what happened in Germany when the Russians went in is horrific, absolutely horrific. And these were young boys just like here. Oh, there it is.
There it
Okay,
is.
you know what my son said when he saw this? My
Yeah.
dad is the puny guy in the second row on the right.
This one? This one?
This guy here.
Where, sorry.
He
can't see.
your-
Can
On
anybody
the
the other
second
right.
row, like
The other
standing, in the
right.
middle, just behind the guys who are sitting. He's
Okay.
on the extreme right.
Yeah. The
Oh,
other
extreme
end.
right. Yeah, there he is over
Yeah.
there.
And so
Yeah.
he wasn't a big person. I found out when I got his army records that he was actually quite sick. He'd been training at Petawawa, and they
Oh.
wanted to take over in Kingston, and he weighed 130 pounds. He was sick.
Oh
Something
my
like that.
God.
Sure, what the name
But
is.
he was, I just can't, he was just very big
okay.
in spirit. Like he
Yeah.
was a very, I don't know, he was king
I can't remember.
and country kind of guy.
This will be quite the pilgrimage for you then, Jane. You'll literally be following in your
It's
father's
huge.
footsteps.
Mm.
Wow.
It's huge because, there are records in my family, but I can't access them. And I just so glad. It's kind of like I feel I owe this to my dad to do this too. I want to
Great.
see it.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, great to have you along with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Jane's didn't mention, but she has a history degree from Queens. That's where we met at
Ah.
Queens University.
Okay, nice.
And I graduated with a mechanical engineering, so I've never really had an interest in history or
He does now.
past wars. But I've been retired now for 5-6 years, and I started reading more.
Perfect.
Well, my initial books were technology books about Elon Musk and electric cars, but I've gone from that to reading books about the technology during the Second World War
Oh,
and how it was
yeah.
developed,
Turin,
including radar and all that.
Nice.
Yep.
And now I've gone to David, I've read your book, and I'm really interested in now in history and what Jane's father experienced.
Well,
and
you
went
know what he
through.
was like too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going
Well,
to
as
say,
a
that's why
priest,
I love
I'm
your
very
book, David.
happy that I've been able to convert.
Yeah, your books are so readable and it's so different than the way I studied history in university. It was so different and it's so animated, but it's also so carefully researched. Like we had all these assumptions about why Dieppe happened, and it was sort of those standard, well, the Canadians were agitating to get into action, and the British were just using colonials to do these things. And the book is so fascinating because you had to do all that research to uncover it. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Photocopy all the
that's, pardon?
Just photocopying all the pages. Was it
Yeah.
10 cents a page you had to photocopy?
Well, no. If I had to photocopy them, no, it was $1 a page. So basically,
Ugh.
Oh,
I
wow.
prefer to have my house. But it was, with digitization, you can do that now as historians. I mean, that's the wonderful part. It's
I was just gonna
I'm
say
sure
that.
you probably got whatever you did about your father on PDF. No, did it come via PDF or was it old photocopies that you got? Did you get anything on your father? From the
A
archives?
bit of both. I'm
bit of
really
both,
good at
yeah.
digging for things. But when I studied history, there was no internet. You had to find the articles and textbooks. I used to go to the library at Queens, which turned out to be really good for history. And I went to Robarts to try to find stuff there because that's the only way you could do it. Unless you
Yeah.
went to the archives and, it was really laborious
Yeah,
to.
and Google came in drawers, remember?
Yes.
The drawer, go to the cards. Yeah, that was our Google.
And I
Wow.
was the
Emily
one who
sitting there
always sat
going,
this.
"Mm."
Yeah. I was
No
always the one who
clue.
was sitting in the stacks, pulling all the books out on the bottom shelf.
Yeah, crazy.
So I'm so thrilled that you were able to write this, and I know it was just a colossal task for you to do that. I can't imagine how many years you were researching to pull that together.
For Dieppe 15, and then it's still gone on because I put out a second edition a couple of years ago, and it's just one of
Yeah, I
those
wondered
things
about
where it just there's more and more that's being released every year that just
Yeah.
keeps adding to the argument, adding to the story, which is fantastic. And
Yeah.
after a while, it becomes intoxicating, right? It's
Yeah.
just a mystery, where you get into it, and every time you turn a page, you never know what you're going to find, and that's the amazing part. And so I guess in many ways that's what kept me going throughout all this. Is to
Yeah.
trying to get a job done properly, knowing full well how controversial it would be.
My son has a master's degree in history. It's called a combination Indigenous
Wow.
and military history.
Oh,
And
good.
he hasn't read the book yet, but I'm trying to tell him how history has changed. And
Yeah.
I think that's the example of what, I think aspiring history students should be trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He's
there's
not in
so
school
many-
anymore, but
Well, you should come on tour. Tell him to
You know what?
come on one of
I
these
would have liked
days.
him to, but he's in the reserves and he's already got a contract for the
That's
summer.
Who is he?
phenomenal.
Who is he
Yeah.
serving with?
Well, this is what happened to him. I want to go to the details. He wanted to go into the infantry. He was in Hamilton. He wanted to go into either the Argylls or the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry. He didn't go to the recruiting center. He went to the armory, and guess what he ended up doing? He ended up being a private in a service battalion. So he's okay with it. He said, I wanted to start it, but I said, why did you apply to be an officer? I mean, you've got 3 university degrees. He said, because I don't know anything about the army. I wanted to learn from the ground up. And
Oh,
so,
Yeah.
bravo.
but right now,
Wants
he's
the hands
he's
on
always getting held behind because 2 summers in a row, he has not been able to do any training. So he's giving them 1 more year and then he'll be gone if he's not in training because he can't progress. So he may, at some point, he may apply to be an officer, and he says he likes logistics now that he's in it, but that's not what his intention was when he joined.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah, it was funny. It was
sounds
the same
like-
thing. I had a young cousin, it was the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have
He
a
got
lot.
in one platoon commander. Yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot to talk about on the tour, and I hate to rush us on, but I do
Yeah, go
have to
ahead.
keep a schedule. So Emily, do you want to introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you do at the battlefield tours?
Yeah, my name is Emily. I'm from Saskatoon and I'm a tour escort, and I've been helping with some of the logistics on this tour and help book things and organize stuff. So, yeah.
And what were you doing last week?
I was on a tour with Sam as a tour escort, and it was amazing. So you guys are gonna have a wonderful time and learn so much. Like at the end of each day, I had to write all these things down so I wouldn't forget it. And that's one thing that I'd recommend, because at the end of the trip, there's so much information. So if you have a couple minutes at the end of the day, make sure to jot a couple notes down.
That's good advice. That's good advice. And so you might you might see some of Emily's emails back and forth. She has been supporting our tour on the ground, and the tour that we just came back on together covered a lot of the ground that you're doing on the Black Watch tour. So I did meet up with Robert Katzberg, and we did meet up with a couple of people, some friends, and some surprises that you have along the way. So yeah. All right, Bill, you want to go next?
Sure.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. Glad to be on the call.
Thanks
I
for
just about
coming.
missed the shift in time today, but I luckily got it, so that's good.
Bless ya.
My story kind of, I'm in the Calgary Highlanders. I was in the Calgary Highlanders in the early 60s.
Wow.
And I am still in the Calgary. I was in for 3 years in the reserves, and I'm still in their association. And in 2005, 2015, I went on a tour with them to commemorate the Battle of St. Julian Wood. So we and the Highlanders and the Canadian Scottish followed the footsteps of the 10th Battalion into the 10th and 16th Battalion into the woods, and had a celebration at the very time that the two armies clashed. So we were lucky enough that the Queen came to visit us in London and shook hands with all of us. So that was an outstanding affair. Where I start off with, I suppose, is my grandfather was a wonderful piper, and was in the 5th Reserve Battalion of the Black Watch when he lived north of Dundee, and then he moved to Glasgow, where he went into the Highland Light Infantry as a member, and then he started the Glasgow Tramways pipe band, and was the prime minister of that, or not prime minister, pipe major, and he was lucky enough to lead a parade with Admiral Togo through the streets of Glasgow. He was there to celebrate the building of the ships that helped him win the war against the Russians.
Yeah.
So at the time, so he ended up emigrating to Canada in 1912 and started up a pipe band in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And when the war came, he joined the 113th Lethbridge Highlanders in 1916 and came up to Calgary. So my relatives were in Calgary in 1916, and went overseas in the fall. He never ended up going overseas, because that battalion was broken up and became a reserve battalion. Because he was such a good at organizing pipe bands, they kept him in the reserve establishment throughout the war and didn't send him over to Europe until the war was over. And they say that none of the members of the pipe band, the whole pipe band, joined the 113th, and they say none survived the war. So I'm very lucky that my grandfather didn't get shipped across overseas. So that's good. During the war, they got a drum, a bass drum for their band, and the skin broke on it, and my grandfather signed the inside of it. And I'll tell you more about that later. So he came back to Medicine Hat and had the Legion pipe band there for years and years until he was 82, and he marched in the Medicine Hat Stampede Parade and leading the band. And in the afternoon, he fell over and died.
You're kidding.
Oh,
So it's a long life of playing the bagpipes. So my father played the bagpipes, and as did I. And
You played the bagpipes too.
I do. I don't anymore. You know,
Oh,
I'm a general,
right.
so I don't do it anymore. So my uncle Bill was in the Calgary Highlanders, and I have a picture of him here. I don't know if you can see that.
Was he was also a Hosey?
Yes, his name is Bill Hosey.
Okay.
His name is mine.
Check on something.
And he was in the mortar platoon. So they went overseas. I don't know what year they went overseas, but
40.
Probably 1940. And
Yeah.
One day they were coming back from field maneuvers, and they were in 1942. They were sidetracked onto a landing craft a tank landing craft, and they didn't know anything about what they were doing. But once they took off, they found out they were going to Dieppe.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
off they went with no notice, no training, no understanding of what they were going to do, except that they found out that their job was to mortar the cigar factory. And anyway, as they were
Tobacco
coming,
factory. Yeah.
as they were coming in, they got hit by artillery, and the control cabin and the coxswain were killed, and his helper were killed. So they had to figure out how to get to shore. By the time they got to shore, they were able to get the tanks off, the Calgary tanks off, and then they were ordered not to disembark because it was figured out by that time that people were evacuating, and so they started trying to mortar the cigar factory from the landing craft, but the landing craft was a mess because the cook had been cooking potatoes, and so the whole deck was covered with potatoes and slime. They couldn't anchor their equipment.
Oh dear.
Anyway, before that, my uncle played the bass drum, and so one day the skin broke, and they looked inside, and there was his grandfather's name inside that bass drum. And there's a long story about where the drum had gone to, and it ended up, it had gone to Edmonton, and it had gone to and it was sort of lost in time. And it ended up going down to California, and an old guy in California had it and decided he'd send it up to the museum in Calgary. So it's in the basement of the Military Museum in Calgary with my uncle's name in it, and my grandfather's name in it.
Oh,
Nice.
So
Wow.
Uncle Bill was killed August 2nd at Tilly de Campagna, and
Oh.
by a mortar. He had gone out on a patrol, and he was found a couple of days later, and on that day he was killed. The field records show that the Highlanders had to call up the Essex Scottish and tell them to desist from mortaring their area. And so he's buried there in
Redville.
Redville-sur-Lez. And so my grandfather composed a tune called On the Road to Falaise.
Wow.
And I have a recording of it here. I'll bring it along.
please.
And
Thank you.
and he played it on Remembrance Day in 1947 on the radio, and that's how I ended up getting a copy of it. So that's my story. So on my maternal side, they were Germans from Russia. So my grandparents got married in Odessa and lived in Bessarabia, which is now Moldova. So so I have an interest in the current war.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
boy.
sure.
Yeah. So that's my
You
story.
you also know he was a middleweight boxer with the Calgary Highlanders, right?
No, I
Uncle?
don't, but he was big in baseball.
Yeah. Well, he's listed in the war diary as a middleweight fighter with them.
Bill Hosey.
Something else.
I haven't heard that. That's something new.
Yeah, he was a
But he-
middleweight. Yeah, I don't know how well he did, but he was listed as a middleweight fighter.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
representing the Calgary Highlanders. Yep.
There's an
Nice.
article, there's a guy in the States, for some reason, writes stories about great baseball players who died in the war or
Yeah.
were in the war. And so there's a page-long story of Uncle Bill, his story playing baseball. And that's why you see he's in a Calgary Highlander baseball uniform.
Okay.
There.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. Wow.
Well, we can certainly swing by Tilly and go see where he was killed. There's no doubt about that. We can do that. Sure.
Cool.
Big
So
time.
I've read your book 7 Days in Hell and One Day in August, and another book called by Miller, Stopping the Panzers in
Yep.
Normandy. And I've read The Black Watch from 1742 to 1888. I didn't realize it was written in 1888, until I started realizing that I didn't understand a lot of the words, a bunch of words that were in the book.
Well, that's, yeah,
looking for
remember that the
something.
Black Watch, and I always have to caution people, remember that there's the Imperial Black Watch, which goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, back to the 1600s. And of course, they're from Scotland. And then there were a couple of offshoots, and one of them was the Canadian Black Watch. And that was the big one that started around the First World War, even though we go back to 1862, we started calling ourselves the Black Watch around World War One. And just as a complete trivia note, there's actually an Australian Black Watch too, or at least there was. That was very tiny. I'm not sure how successful it was, but technically it was on the books. So yeah, so basically no direct lineage with the Imperials, but we take all the traditions and everything else. As a matter of fact, they treated the Canadians as bastard stepchildren at best until the performance in World War One, and then they went, oh yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Originally, the Black Watch, the Black Watch was the Royal Highlanders.
that's right.
And they would only recruit people who were north of the Highland line. And so all
Yeah.
of my ancestors are lowlanders, but we don't pay attention to that today.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Well, that means you're sitting at the back of the bus, okay? So lowlander. Just before we move on, I just wanted to show you guys something. We were talking about Jane's dad. Give you an example of how busy Jane's dad was just in those 7 days. Yeah, remember that picture I showed you with the officers? Yeah,
Well, killed and wounded. Oh my
killed and
goodness.
wounded, most of them just in that week.
Hey, what was it, Dave? It was
Extremely lucky.
only
Yes.
6 out of 40 that were not.
Yeah, Frank Mitchell takes over the battalion. He was left out of battle. There's Jane's dad to the right, and then everybody else essentially. There were
Wow.
only a few of them. Yeah, everybody else was either wounded or killed.
Mm.
So that gives you, and that's just the officers.
Yeah.
So it's, the same proportionate ratio, 10 to 1 when it came to the men. So you can imagine what he went through. Yeah, it's mind-boggling when you think about it, I have one of my best friends is an emergency room surgeon here in Montreal. So you can imagine he's busy. Yeah, but when I went through this with him, he was just sitting there shaking his head. He just couldn't believe. So that kind of puts it in perspective,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Jane's dad probably found the emergency ward at the hospital pretty minor stuff after what he'd been through.
Probably.
I wouldn't say that, but he had when he left Perry Sound, it was 1939, and he lost his car through the ice and couldn't make it, and people were paying with jars of jam. So he went to Montreal to do a residency in anesthesia. His choice actually was to go to Chicago and do something else, but he found anesthesia interesting. It was kind of in its infancy, and they were still using ether in some cases. So he was on the team that developed the epidural anesthetic, but one of the reasons he left was because Penfield wanted him to do all his anesthetics for these lobotomies, and he wanted to be he didn't want to be at a teaching hospital. He wanted to be working.
Yeah.
So he worked incredible hours. Like, it's not like today. He didn't do a shift. If there was somebody needed to be looked after in the emergency room, he stayed. He used to sleep on a cot at the hospital. But I think the truth is that it was his life. After being in Europe, he probably developed a lot of really great skills in dealing with emergency situations. And he wouldn't be the kind of person who would want to be doing research or anything like that.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Gosh, he sounds like a lovely chap, your dad. My goodness.
Well, you can tell that there's a little
Yeah.
bit of like I was really impressed with my dad. I knew he was a lot older than other parents of kids my age because I was born when he was 43, because basically he had to start over again. Like, he did all of his medical training, graduated in 1939 with an MDCM, but because he went back to Perry Sound, he lost another 10 years. So by the time he was actually earning money, he was 43 years old.
Right.
So he was older and wiser.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's right. Bless. My goodness.
And I have to say, I wouldn't have had the opportunities I did if I had a different father, because education was really important to him. He went through Queens on scholarship. His mother was a British child, and both his mother and father were dead while he was in medical school. And he really valued education. So when I told him I wasn't going to be a teacher and I was going to go to law school, he said it was a dumb idea, but he supported me all through that. And he was right. I left, but I became a history teacher. But he just, because I think life was so hard for him when he was young, it was really important to him to make sure his kids had more opportunities. So he wasn't buying new cars every 2 years. It was all being put aside for educations and that kind of thing. I was very lucky.
Awesome. Oh, well, I noticed Earl's come to the table too. Hi, Earl. How are you doing, buddy? Oh, you're on
Oh,
mute.
Earl, you're on mute.
I'll ask to unmute. And then
Bottom left of your screen.
There
There you
go.
go.
How's that?
hey,
I was
buddy.
texting you, you're on mute.
Sorry for the late. I got confusion on times. I literally thought it was
Yes.
not supposed to be for another
No,
2
I don't
hours.
think
So.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I can't schedule stuff while I'm in a different country. I think my computer has a little bit of difficulty with times. Yeah.
No,
There's Paul.
Yeah, there's Paul. Woo. All right. So I'm sorry that you missed it, but we are recording. So you can
Yeah.
hear the incredible intros we've had so far from Bill and Jane.
And you're recording, and you're late, and it's now recorded for posterity. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, in perpetuity. But for Earl and Paul, we're going through like what your name is, where you're calling from, and what your connection is to the tour. So Jane and Bill have already gone. I think you know Dave and Glenn and me. Yes. Oh,
Yep.
Paul, you're on mute. I'll unmute, yeah. Or I'll ask you to unmute.
Bottom left, but look at the bottom left of your screen. There you go. I think you did
There
it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
There we go.
Hi, Paul.
This is so stressful. Sorry.
Says the judge.
Oops. Oops.
So yeah, we should probably go in order in my screen so I don't get confused. But yeah, Earl and Paul, you know Dave, Glenn, and me pretty well, I would say. Hey?
Yes.
Not a bad start anyways, yes.
So let's let Jim and Joyce, do you guys want to go next? Tell us where you're calling from and what your connection is to the tour.
Hi, we're Jim and Joyce Cook. We live in Ottawa,
Hi, Jim. Hi, Joyce.
and we have absolutely no connection to the Black Watch other than we enjoy the Tulip Festival every year, which is I guess the reward for all the sacrifice that the Black Watch made during the war. Yeah, we were actually, this is a postponed trip. We were going to go on a battlefield tour with my son's old history teacher, Neil Orford, back in 2019, and then the pandemic lockdown hit, and we spent a year talking to Manulife trying to get our money back. So, which turned out to be, if you haven't got good insurance, we recommend you get good insurance. We got all our money back. So, yeah, we've been looking forward to this trip for a different reason, I guess. My dad, I was born in England, and my dad and his two brothers fought with the British Army. He and one brother were in the 8th Army. They went through North Africa and all through Europe. And the other brother went to Burma, where he was a guest of the Japanese. Not a good outcome. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we've been looking forward to it. I'm a keen fan of history. I've been retired since 2015. What's your connection to the military, Joyce? Other than,
I have no interest in this at all. I'm supporting my husband. So
Yes.
Oh, she will
My
after about 2
target
days in.
demographic.
She'll be leading the charge out the bus.
Yeah.
You see me wandering
got it.
around, looking at different things, and maybe not listening to you at full. That's just me. And,
You know what?
I
You know what,
apologize ahead of time.
You know
What
what,
is it?
Joyce? Emily and I can tell you, we just got back from a program, and at the end of the tour, we had a woman who said she had absolutely no interest. She was just supporting her husband, and we converted her. So
Oh, okay.
buckle up.
Well, I got $1
Oh,
for every time I heard
David,
that.
I have something
Come
to
see
say to
Father
David.
Dave.
David, if
Oh.
you need someone to cry at something, I can do it.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just
Awesome.
give me
Yeah.
the nod and
What-
I can cry.
Oh,
Yeah.
When I
joy.
scratch my nose.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pile of museums in Ottawa, and my favorite one is the War Museum, followed closely by the Aviation Museum. So, yeah, looking forward to learning more about it. I haven't read any of your stuff, David, but I'm a big fan.
He will.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tim
You
Cook's
you
book.
better
I've
get
read
on
it.
it. The quiz is on Tuesday, so
Yeah,
you better go.
Yeah, bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Oh,
no.
And so, Jim, will this be your first time on the battlefields of Europe?
Sure, yeah, it will be, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got some first timers. No pressure, Dave and Glenn.
Yeah.
Hopefully our last, but anyway.
I kind of chuckle at that, like I was saying.
no.
Just don't pick anything up out of the field. That's all I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
See a little bit of metal, don't touch it.
Okay.
Only advice.
I heard that expression, oh, I'm just accompanying my husband, or I'm just here to support. And after about the second day, they're at breakfast. Where are we going today? Like, what's on the schedule? And
Yeah.
this is great. You know, they're just so excited. So we'll
Okay,
see. We'll
there's
see
your
about that.
challenge. You
Should
gotta
be
try.
leading the charge up Verrier.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, oh bless. Well, we're so happy to have you both. Truly, Joyce, you just seems like such a. Oh, I love you both so much already.
Actually, we were supposed to go on another tour that Neil Orford was organizing this year, and it fell through. And he gave
Oh.
us a link. He gave us a link to this one. That's how we ended up on your tour.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Neil's wonderful. Like, huge fan of his stuff too. We're a small community here in Canada, but
Mhm.
the lucky one, bless him. Speaking of,
I don't know if you know anything about him, but he won the Governor General's Award
oh yeah,
as a history teacher, and
oh
my
yeah.
son enjoyed him so much he took him in, I think, 11 and 12. I can't remember the dates, but anyway, yeah. And now I'm Facebook friends with him, so there you go.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him as Canadians, that's for sure. That's rock
Yeah.
and roll. Speaking of other Canadians we're lucky to have, Earl.
Oh,
buddy,
yes.
how's it going?
Really good.
from?
Heather's just going to try and call in as well.
Okay.
So I just sent her the link. So we both were thinking this was an hour from now out doing other things. So I snuck down to the lake to get my toys in the lake and get ready for summer. So no, we're from Carberry, Manitoba. We're a little bit addicted, and I just laugh when you say about you're the somebody's wife just following along. My wife did the same, and she's an absolute addicted. Can't wait to get back into it. Yeah, no, I went through Italy on my own, and a cousin of mine, and our uncle fought all the way through Italy. So we did that one several years ago with my brother that lives out of Switzerland. Then my cousin and I did one of the trips and hooked up with Glenn and through beaches in Normandy and through to Holland. And then a few years later, I had the honor of taking my son, and he was 19. I really wanted him to go. And at the last minute, my wife said, oh, well, maybe I'll come along too, and we'll at least do the Holland part. Well, she did that. She had to go back to work, and Kian and I carried on. My son, Kian, and I carried on into Germany and farther. So it was fantastic. And I would do it every year if time would have allowed me. And finally, this time around, I ran out of excuses. And after meeting you folks back in Brandon and reading the book again, hey, it was just one little tipping point was all it was, just that other little tiny push. And I said, hey, so no, we can hardly wait.
Nice.
And I gotta say, Earl, I don't know if you know this, but I've been working here for 10 years, which is crazy. But my first year on the job, you called me and you were looking to book the Liberation program for the anniversary. And you were trying to convince me that my dad is like that it's such a great tour. Like and I went, really? It is? Here I am 10 years later.
Uh, Yeah, well, you picked us up off the bus when Kian, unfortunately, just before we went on that tour, my son was in a bad accident. But you guys met us at can't remember, it was Arnhem.
Yeah,
And,
we picked you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to pick you up. Yeah.
fantastic memory, absolutely.
Mm.
Can't hardly wait. Can't get enough of it.
So excited. So excited. It's awesome. Oh, glad to have you, Earl. Paul, do you want to go next? Where are you
Sure.
from?
Well, I'm calling from my office in the courthouse in Iqaluit.
Oh, wow.
And for some reason, I was convinced, and Kira and Linda were convinced too, that the call was a bit later tonight. So anyway, we all apologize.
You
weren't the only one. You weren't the only one.
Okay, so basically, I do apologize. I'm in the middle of a jury trial, and I've got an important meeting on Tuesday, and my mind is everywhere else. And Linda had a retirement thing tonight. So anyway, I was in the Black Watch from 1971 to 1975 in Montreal, the cadets and the militia, and reconnected with the regiment last month for the honorary colonels dining in the annual church parade. Linda and I took our daughters when they were little to Vimy Ridge, and then when they were in seniors in high school, I was a chaperone on a battlefield trip around Northwest Europe. And then, of course, last year, the family went down to Dieppe, and we ran into you guys, and you were really nice and let us join in at Point 67 in Verrières. And I'd read David's books beforehand, so it was a thrill to meet David. And right now, I'm in the middle of reading Roman Yaramowitz's Volume 2 of the regimental history of the regiment, which just came out. And I've got, being an historian by avocation and a lawyer by training, I wish I could have edited it, but that's too late for that. But I was embarrassed last night to realize that 9 or 10 days after the regiment was wiped out, I guess it was either Folks or Simmons sent the new commanding officer Mitchell and the reconstituted battalion right back up the hill.
Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a reason for it. We'll go over that. Yeah,
No
there's a
respite at all.
fascinating reason. Yeah.
So
and actually it also connects to Bill's uncle, because not only were the Black Watch going up on August 5th for a particular reason, but that same reason was at play for August 1st and August 2nd at Tilly with the Calgary Highlanders. And we'll get into that over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And I hope we'll be able to walk up to the ridge where they crested.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Super.
Just watch out for
And
the
by the
rabbit.
way, the rabbits. Yeah. I just want to say one thing. One thing that really impressed us, quite apart from everyone being so friendly, and David, your encyclopedic knowledge of the history of World War II in that part of Northwest France. Linda, Kira, Annika, and I were going for supper to what we were told was the best restaurant in Bayeux, and then the bus comes up, and all you guys, get out to go have supper too at the best restaurant in Bayeux. So we're really going to be well taken care of when we're over there.
Yeah, for sure. You really will. You'll go back to that restaurant. It was my birthday a couple weeks ago, and we went there for my birthday, and they're very excited to see you guys. Very excited. They said, when you coming back? When are you coming back? So they're very excited. They're
Super.
Beautiful restaurant. Oh, there's so many good restaurants on it. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Oh, really excited for this sport. Yeah, really excited.
Happy 29th again, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks. I paid him to say that. There's 3 more on our screen that joined. Heather, Kira, Linda. Woo! All right, I think the whole party is here now.
I think they're all muted.
Yeah, they are. I don't know if any of you want to say hello and say who you're related to in the group, or any thoughts or words from you guys. Heather, did you want to go first? I'll ask you all to unmute.
Bottom left of the screen, guys.
Yeah, I think she found it.
Yeah, I think I'm on.
Yeah.
You're on. Hi, Heather.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see faces, and I'm sure we'll get to know each other when we're in Europe, and I'm excited to go. And I am Earl's wife, Heather.
And I told the story a little bit about your lack of interest at the beginning, and then joining in, and now as addicted as the rest of us. So
Yeah.
I always laugh because I don't know, I didn't mention, but I lived in Manitoba for 50 years of my life, and I met Earl and Heather years before I left, and I rendezvoused with both of them in Europe more than I did in Manitoba. So
That's
again,
true.
it's going to happen again. So I'll see you in Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kira, you want to say hi and say where you're calling from, who you're related to, what you're looking forward to?
Hello, I'm
Hello.
Kira. I am Paul and Linda's daughter. They're both on the call. We've heard from Paul already. He was the one talking about Bayeux and the Black Watch. Although like, I missed most of your introductions, so
It's all
don't know if anyone
recorded,
else
don't worry.
it's recording.
Yeah.
So I'm Paul and Linda's daughter. We were in France last year and ran into this tour group on their tour, and it looked really interesting. And David is such an animated and amazing storyteller that we were just captivated by what he was saying, and we were really looking forward to this tour. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for July.
Right.
Kira's coming. Kira said at one point, you said wow, or like something like that, and it made me laugh so much. You're like, battlefield tours are awesome. It made me laugh so much. We were in a cemetery, weren't we? We're in a civilian cemetery.
I think we were.
Was it at the top of Barrier Ridge?
Yeah, I was somewhere.
It was the top
there.
of Barrier.
Beautiful. Linda, do you want to say hi? Last but not least.
Yeah, and hi David, hi Samantha, and Glenn. I believe that we met you last year also.
You bet.
I have a bit more history. My dad was in the Air Force, Canadian Air Force, and I lived as a child from the ages of 7 to the ages of 10. In 2 years in France at the Marville Air Force Base, and then 1 year in Lahr, Germany. And my parents, of course, Dad was in the Air Force. Mom was a nurse, but she worked part-time only, I think, while Dad was stationed in Europe. But as a child, my parents used to load us. I'm the youngest of 4. Our family would get loaded into a Peugeot station wagon, and we toured around Europe, I would say at almost every opportunity. And one of the very neat things that I remember is my family and I went to Vimy when I was probably 8. And we were the only Canadians that were there. And we were the only people, I suppose, that were there at the time, as far as I remember. And the guardian of the Vimy Memorial started talking to my dad, and one thing led to another, and we got a private tour of underneath the Vimy Memorial. As a child of whatever I was, 8 or 9, it absolutely had a big impression on me. My parents have both passed away now, but it is entirely likely that my dad somewhere has slides taken of that tour. It was pretty neat, and I'm probably one of the very few people in the world, certainly very few of the, I would say a very, very few of, or one of the few Canadians who have ever been underground the memorial or underneath the memorial in the world. It was pretty exciting. And of course, Paul and I met in 1978 when he was still has some ties to the Black Watch. So, I've been immersed in the Black Watch family for over 40 years now. So I'm excited about this trip. I'm actually retiring at the end of June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, from my day job. So that, this fits in very well with the trip. It's a week after I retire. and looking forward to it, looking very forward to, you know, kind of reliving the experience from last year when we crashed your tour. And looking forward to, you know, sort of doing the whole tour with you guys. So that's it for me. And, you know, just saying hi to everybody.
Oh, that's beautiful, Linda. Woohoo. Do we feel well acquainted now, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So exciting. Oh, yeah. I feel like to celebrate your retirement, Linda, you guys all need to have Calvados on your first night.
And that's the end of the trip. That's it. That's it.
We could do that. I'll try not to, you know, celebrate too much because I do want to remember the rest of the tour and, you know, be standing for it.
Remain bipedal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't want to take up too much more of our time, but I did want to share with you the map kit. Now, you don't have it yet, but we promise we'll have it to you by next week. We're waiting for a few maps from
My
Father
fault.
over here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So-
Father Dave. Yeah,
So
sorry.
when we get those, your map kit will be complete. However, I am going to share it with you now so you can take a sneak peek at what it looks like. Basically, this is an overview of everything you should know to prep for the tour before and after. It includes some resources. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is the front page. It's an online link that you can download to your mobile device, or you can print. It's also print friendly if you feel more comfortable with a piece of paper in your hands. I'm going to scroll through what you'll find helpful in your guide. This is a table of contents, but basically it's got our full itinerary overview, information about where we're picking up the group, dropping off the group, contact info for Dave and Glenn, and some information about what our transport will be through the tour. There's a hotel list. There's a preparation list, so a reading list that we've put together, suggestions about what you should pack. Tipping guidelines, for example, plugs, what the type of plugs you should use. So all that's in there. And then pages 18 through 26 has a lot of more information about your maps, your resources, and again, how to contact us. So there's some information. Of course, we put together a little blurb about the Netherlands, Canada, and the Black Watch history, but there's so much more that you're going to see on the program. So look at this as like a 3% of what you'll see on the program. We depart on July 10th and we arrive on July 11th. Some of you are coming in beforehand. If you haven't given me your air information yet, please do so. Send a friendly email to me about what your, all I really would love to know is what your flight number is and what your date is for your arrival, so we know where you are. I'll go through that in the next page, but I'm not going to go through the itinerary with you. Feel free to read it and take a look. There's been some minor changes, but nothing drastic. You'll notice we have a few surprises in the program and a few friends that will be joining us along the way. Along the side of this itinerary here, we've got tour inclusions. So it'll show you what's included in the pricing and what's excluded. There are some lunches and some dinners that are excluded from the program. You'll see as you go, there's a L or a D that I just circled. See, for example, on page 2, we have breakfast. But we don't have dinner included. You'll have a night out on your own that evening. So you'll notice as you go through, B and D is listed on that day, B for breakfast, D for dinner. Okay, cool. So this is a beautiful itinerary. Again, you can read it at your leisure. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask any one of us. Dave and Glenn, is there anything that you wanted to mention about the itinerary perhaps at this stage?
Well, Dave and I have spoken a fair bit already, and we probably continue to do more. We've added some really nice little things in here directly related to the Black Watch. David suggests reading the book or watching the Snipers episode. That would definitely help bring your knowledge up and maybe familiarize yourself with the unit and some of the men he's mentioned in his writings. So we plugged in some nice stops directly related to that. just to back up maybe before that a little bit, at the airport, guys, like those of you arriving on the flight that day or those meeting us there who already arrived previously, the way I normally do it at Charles de Gaulle is I'm gonna have a sign that's gonna say Black Watch Tour on it, and I'll put my name below it, highlight it, and I'm gonna make myself very visible to you guys coming out of the departure area from the security area, okay? And then at that point, I'll have you go off, I'll point you off to the direction where David will be waiting, and you can just kind of, hang there together while I get everybody, then we'll all leave together, okay? That'll be, so if you're just wondering how's it gonna work at the airport, I'll have my sign, I'll be looking, you know what I look like now, look for me as well. And then we'll just all leave together. It's busy there, I won't kid you, it does get congested, but we'll get ourselves out of there and on the coach, comfortable, and off we go. And when you're looking at your list of things here on the map kit, the biggest thing I run into consistently on tours, people saying, oh, I wish I bought better shoes, or I wish I bought my good hat, or it's going to be hot, it's July, so just be prepared. The tour involves a fair bit of walking at times, okay? The day at Verrières, we'll be walking quite a bit that day. So just get yourself well suited for the conditions, and bring what you need with you. And it's key to having a good time, because nobody wants to have sore feet or a sunburn or whatnot while you continue on the tour. So be kind to yourselves and bring what you need, and it'll make the whole tour that much more enjoyable. At any point between now and when we leave, I believe my email's on there, David's. Don't be afraid to contact us. Any questions, a good one. So together we got a lot of experience doing this. I'm sure we can answer it along with Sam's input as well. So again, we're fully available to answer questions. And again, it's these tours, for those who haven't been on it, I'm not talking to everybody here because I've toured with quite a few of you here already. They are life-changing tours. There's a lot of emotions involved in these tours. It's a lot of facts get uncovered, and now we're going to be following a unit for the first time, which I can say in 15 years of doing this, I haven't actually followed a unit precisely, like the Black Watch in this case. So that's kind of a first for me, and having David along would be the man to have it be doing it with, of course. So I just encourage you to come on a tour, have a great time. We got lots of downtime together at dinners and other periods of the tour that you can get to know each other better. And don't be shy, and we'll have a really nice time together. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, awesome, Glenn. Dave, you gotta get going. Do you want to say anything before you leave?
Yeah, just quickly. My apologies, people. I've been filming the second season of Intercursed Waters, and I literally got back just a couple hours ago on a red eye. And I like, apparently some of you thought this was supposed to be 6 p.m. Eastern. So I was rudely wakened from my bed by Sam. Anyway, but we've got a family dinner that's just starting right now, so I've got to get up there. But I just wanted to say I'm really looking forward to this. And as Glenn touched on, it's we always kind of look at it as and no, I'm not kidding around doing the priest thing before. It's kind of like a pilgrimage. And winding it around the Men of the Black Watch, it's just a great narrative locomotive to take us through. But because of the various interests that everybody else has, we've already built in a few little things, little tweaks here and there to try to accompany that. But I think one thing that I think I enjoy the most, and I know Glenn and Sam do too, and anybody who's been with us, is the end of the day, sitting down, breaking bread, having a nice talk, and just enjoying things, because at the end of the day, it's all about appreciation, and it's all about appreciation for everything we have, and it's just the more the louder the laughter, the better day you've had, actually what I see, the more emotional kind of day you have, because you can really appreciate everything you have, and the fact that we're all together and we can do that, we can sit there and laugh. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It sounds really weird with the military history tour. I'm looking forward to the laughter. So there you go. You'll probably understand that a bit better at the end. So with that said, I'm going to have to jet out of here, and I will leave you in great hands of Samantha and Glenn. And can't wait to get over there. And of course, Paul, as I said, I promise I'm going to corner you and find out all about this murder trial you're working on, because this is fascinating. Yeah, and by the way, I realize you took the ultimate route from history into law. Yeah, law fascinates me too. So I can't wait to sit down and have a great conversation. So that's going to be fun.
Looking forward to it.
And Emily, my apologies. I'm the reason that the maps are late because I've been on the road for weeks. So I just haven't had a chance to get them, but I will get everything out this week, and it'll be something else. And I just can't wait to walk the ground with you guys. So
Thanks,
Okay.
Dave.
okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
punch out now.
Yeah.
Take care, Dave.
Okay,
Bye.
take care.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
See you soon.
We're home alone. We can do whatever we want. He's gone. No, but seriously, I will wrap this up, and this kit will come to you with all this information. There was just one page I wanted to show you before I hand it over to you guys for questions. Okay, so let me just quickly go back to sharing my screen. And I just wanted to mention, yes, this is your tour pickup point, 9:00 a.m. on July 11th. We are following this flight, AC 872, which is scheduled to arrive at 8:50 a.m. So the majority of our travelers are on this flight. Again, please send me your flight information, because this is a standardized group flight number that we have. And if your flight is coming in later than this, we can adjust everything. I just want to make sure we know exactly where all of our ducks are. Some of you, for example, Earl and Heather, Jane, I believe you as well. I'll take a look at my notes here. A few of you are coming in early and would like to overnight at the same hotel Dave and Glenn are. So they're staying at the Ibis Hotel at the airport the night before on July 10th. So that's where I'm putting you and Earl and Heather. If any of you just want to know where they are the night before, or if you want me to book you a room is there as well, just pop me an email. I would need that in writing. So don't call me, put it in writing. That way I can confirm that you definitely want a booking there, and we'll get you in there. But regardless, our meeting point will still be at the arrivals terminal 2B at Charles de Gaulle. Glenn will have that sign, and he's got a phone number that's at his hip, and Dave does too. So, and do I, even though I'll be still here in Canada. If you have any, if you need anything, I am your point person here in the ground back home. Okay. And same for your drop off point. Actually, for your drop off point, there's a shuttle service from the Hyatt that's actually really convenient. So we don't necessarily have this drop off point. This is what Glenn and Dave will be flying home at the same time as well. So this is kind of again a reference point, this flight number that we have here. Again, let me know your flight numbers are. We'll schedule your shuttle at your convenience. But that is a great segue for me to go to look at our accommodations on tour. This is our hotel list. It has changed a little bit, but we got upgrades. I'm so excited for our hotel list. We love these properties. I love all of these properties. Emily and I were just staying at the Best Western in Caen. It's centrally located, so that's a great place. The hotel in Dieppe, even though you're there for one night, it is a modern, brand new hotel. Absolutely stunning in the harbor, and it is again centrally located. So there's websites you can take a look at when you're looking at these properties. I did get a question about swimming pools, and I'm afraid there's none of them that I've been to that have swimming pools. But again, you can go through the amenities at each property, because, for example, the Vandervalk Nijmegen Lent has some really cool amenities inside. So there's a lot to explore when you're looking at these properties, and you might come across some amenities that you really like such as a 24-hour gym or something like that. So this is our hotel list. Yes, we do have some one-nighters. It is a busy itinerary when it comes to how we're following the Black Watch along. So we do have some one nights in the itinerary, but we are staying 2 glorious nights at the Nijmegen Vandervalk Lent. And the last night here has changed. So we were going to spend 2 nights in Groningen. But Joelle, our guide from Groningen, is going to be joining us on the coach on July 18th, and then we'll be driving up together to Groningen. So we have cut that night, this last night of our hotel, of our stay from Groningen, and we are going to the airport that evening for our last night, July 20th, just so everyone can have a really nice farewell dinner together close to the airport, and can get to their shuttles and get on the road at a time that's convenient instead of waking up at 6 a.m. to get on the coach. Does anyone have any questions? This is all I wanted to share. You'll notice there is a packing list. There is suggesting reading. There's links to Dave's programs. If you haven't seen War Junk before, if you haven't seen Blackwatch Snipers, there's some incredible programs. We've also got some online resources. Again, travel information, currency, what it's looking like right now, what the weather is going to be looking like, how to communicate in Europe, how to get a SIM card, how to roam like home, how to dial. There is some COVID, just COVID protocols. If you're feeling sick, let us know. But masks are no longer required on the coach. If you feel sick or if you feel more comfortable wearing one, that's encouraged. We no longer need the Arrive Can app. We no longer need this, but if you want it for safekeeping at the end of the program, you can download it and fill it out. I've been finding that it's not really needed when I go through customs anymore. So even things on this COVID policy has changed since we've done this publication. And then there's a map kit. And then at the very end, you will find, sorry, I'm scrolling so fast that you can't download the beautiful images and maps and extra info. But on the last page, you will find our office information if you need anything from our office. Alrighty, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm ready for questions. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. I'm planning to arrive about 3 days early.
Awesome.
And leave about 3 or 4 days after. I was just wondering if anything occurs to you as to what might be going on in the area. Like, for example, a replay at Waterloo or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, we can keep you posted. Where are you trying to say? Are you going to be staying in Paris those 3 days prior?
Yes, I arrived in the Paris airport early, so I'll probably contact you about a hotel reservation.
Cool, for sure. Happy to help there. And then when you're on your post on the post program, are you looking to stay in Amsterdam, or are you looking to travel further afield?
Oh, I'm open right now.
All right. Okay.
But if there was something special going on or something special to see, I would think about including it.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah. Yes, Jane?
When we go to Juno Beach, will we have a chance to look at individual bricks for a couple of people? Yeah.
Absolutely. If you
In the
haven't,
That's
center,
great, thank
if
you.
you go inside the center, they'll tell you exactly what kiosk is at.
Well,
where it's-
I contacted them because I knew my dad's was there and I saw that, but I wanted to find his brother who was in the Air Force in Burma, and our next door neighbor who was in the Air Force and got shot down over France. And they sent it to me right away. They're all very close together. So I really do want to see them if we can.
Oh yeah, they'll be right there, you bet.
absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions? If there's anything that comes up, like read through the map kit. And if there's anything that comes up at all, feel free to reach out to myself or Glenn or Dave or Emily. Yeah, Emily's done the tour now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, you said you weren't coming on the tour with us. You're going to be the person on the ground in Canada.
Yeah.
Why aren't you coming on the tour with us?
I wish I could, Kira. I keep dreaming about well, maybe I could slip by for a little bit. I have a wedding to go to, so it's a lot. It's 2023 wedding
Can't do
over.
everything. Can't do everything.
But you know, I'm still, I mean, you keep pushing me because I have this credit with Air Canada that I got to use up. It would be my dream to go.
Nice.
They don't need you at the wedding.
They
Just
don't
come with
need
us.
Yeah, just come with us.
I would love to. I hate being the bridal party. It's like a full-time job, you know? And it's a wedding from COVID. So it's, you know, it's been going on for 3 years, you know?
Kian's got, he's standing up in 3 weddings this summer, and I think they have a wedding like 6 weekends out of July and August. So it's just crazy.
July is a hard month. We also have
Yeah.
the Italy program is going at the same time as your tour. Is the 80th anniversary of the landings in Italy. So yeah, we need some boots on the ground. I'm there in spirit, Kira. I promise. And if
Okay.
Glenn and Dave start driving you guys crazy, you can always reach out to me. I'm sure that's not true, but I want at least one video. Any question, anything about packing? You guys have any questions about packing? I'm pretty straightforward. It's gonna be hot. It'll be hot. But
So
also
any of the places that we're walking and stuff, like as long as you had good walking sandals would work, or we need closed toe shoes?
Well, you know what, to answer that, Heather, I would also say, like, you know, we're gonna have lots of room in this bus. So if you want to bring a little bag with a change of shoes, like by all means, just if they say, hey, we're going on to Juneau and you want to get sandals on now instead of your tie-up shoes, and just bring them. There'll be lots of room in the coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's a good
Usually
point.
what I do, and you guys know this, I'll review the next day beforehand. So I'll say, hey guys, tomorrow we're going to be here and this is what we'll be doing. So everybody's got a pretty good notion in their minds what they're expecting the next day.
We're on the same coach the entire tour.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Same driver too.
Philippe?
Same driver?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. He's excited. He's ready.
Oh, good.
I have a question. How much do you average gratitude to your
Gratuities
to the
to the guides,
guides
the
and
guides
the,
and the, you know, the people that are helping us on the
the
tour.
drivers. Like
Driver,
what,
yeah.
how much money do we give them?
Yeah, and we'll provide you with envelopes for your drivers and guides. There's 2 guides. So that's it's a little tricky in that regard. Our standard is 10 euros per person per day for the guide and 5 euros per person per day for the driver. However, I'm going back like 2019. So I would say that's the standard. And I do encourage, like, you know, Philippe works so hard. So do tip our staff, because it does take a lot to do these tours and to be with the family and yada yada. So but we'll provide you with envelopes, and again, it really is to your just discretion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, I don't know about, well, actually, I do know this about Glenn, but if you write us little notes, we do keep them and treasure them all forever.
Oh, yeah, we do. You know, Dave touched on something that I'm always usually the first guy to say it, but when people back home ask me, you know, what do you do? And I tell them this is one of my jobs. I'm actually an automotive technician, but my passion is history, and doing these tours was just right up my alley. But so I get home, these people ask me, like, what's the best part about the tours? And, you know, it's just meeting the people and the stories. Like, I've heard just 2 or 3 really tremendous stories right now, you know, and I feel privileged to hear all this. And over the years, I've taken a lot of the notes with their permission and a lot of their experiences and put them into my notes, which you'll see. And it just enriches the tour. But meeting Canadians and sometimes Americans as well, we're all on the same mission. It's a tour of remembrance. Sometimes it's very personal because there might be a loved one or a family member involved directly. Sometimes it's just to take note of what your country did and our forefathers. But we're all on the same mission together here, and you'll find it blends very quickly, and you'll become friends quickly. And I'm still talking to people from tours 10, 12 years ago routinely, it's just Earl's laughing, him especially, and Heather. But it's a great time. We actually have reunions together, depending, we're, you know, a lot of times in Toronto area and that. So I can almost guarantee when this tour is done, all of you will be email or Facebook buddies or some sort of communication form of extra connection now. There'll be tears at the airport, I guarantee it. So enjoy the experience. It's if I could wrap that up, I had a couple say to me one time, and they approached me right at the end of the tour, and they were a nice couple. They're recently retired, and they said, you know, Glenn, we've had the means to travel the world, and we've probably done it twice. I go, oh wow. And I wasn't sure what he was getting at first, and he said, well, we want to say that the last 10 days we spent with the Battlefield Tours was the most meaningful, emotional 10 days we've ever spent on any vacation doing anything. And he says, and so we wanted you to know that. And they look very serious about letting me know. And I walked away thinking the point must have been taken to that extreme where they needed to tell me that. And judging by how much they had traveled, it was quite a compliment, but more so for the fact that that's how they were affected by what they just experienced. So that's what you can expect. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's quite special.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Oh, you'll have a great time. You know, with a combination, like Sam says, with the restaurants and hotels and just the beauty of Europe, you know, it's impossible not to have a good time. It's just so much to see and do and experience. I'm too going earlier before the trip. I've always wanted to explore Bruges a little bit, and I've driven by it many times on tour, never got myself into the city. And so Katerina, my partner's coming with me, and we're going to go a few days in Bruges and meet up with Earl and Heather in Paris, just to kind of, you know, relax and spend some time. That'll be my vacation. I've usually used my vacations, my personal vacations, for the last 15 years to do the tours. So this will be a little bit of pre-holiday. Then we'll get right into my job of taking care of you guys there. So it'll be good. You guys will really enjoy it.
With that, I think we got to say our adieus. Is there any final thoughts from anybody? We excited.
No.
Thanks for the enthusiasm.
No problem.
Thanks for the stories.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's
Nice
just
to
so
meet everybody.
meaningful.
Yeah. Have a
Thanks
good
for
evening.
looking after us, Sam, getting us all
Sam.
ready.
I got you covered. Yeah, we'll be in touch with the last little pieces over the next week or so. And when we get those maps from Glenn, we'll keep harassing, or Glenn from Dave. We'll keep harassing him for those maps, and we'll get the kits over to you ASAPity. Thanks for taking time on your Sunday, guys. Really appreciate it. Goodness gracious. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Take good care. See you over the
Thanks, guys.
email.
Bye-bye. See you all soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.